Well, welcome everyone to our weekly Power 36 AP poll top 25 breakdown. On one side of your screen, you've got the AP poll that is to my left, your right. On the other side, you've got my Power 36, which is my right, your left. A lot to discuss here this afternoon. First of all, a little minor glitch in our first posting. We've got that all cleared up. You do see North Carolina in the middle of your Power 36 as they knocked off Harvard and Pitt. A little bit of a minor glitch on my part. Take responsibility for that. We have now since corrected that. So we'll get rid of that. All right. Let's address it first, and then we're going to get to your questions. St. John's. I want to address St. John's here. St. John's cracks the top 25 at number 24. In the Power 36, I have St. John's at number 10. Remember, everyone, every week I go over this. The Power 36 is a snapshot of how you're playing right now. Okay? And may not be where you're going to be seated in the NCAA tournament. And a quick sidebar reminder, we've got our next bracket at March Madness coming out tomorrow, right after the football championship game tonight. Tomorrow, Tuesday, you will get the next bracket. We think it's a good one. And you really be able to digest. Things are starting to take shape a little bit. Got some results to deal with from the conferences around the country. So St. John's crushes Marquette at home. Shamori Pons, by the way, is our National Player of the Week. And then they come back and they win in overtime. Not really come back, but they held on in overtime at Georgetown. Big rivalry game on Saturday. Georgetown had multiple chances to win that game, by the way, and they didn't. So St. John's, you could argue, and we talked about this here in this forum, legitimately could have been 3-0 right now in the Big East. They got the deflection against Seton Hall. Seton Hall still makes the buzzer beater, the three-point shot by Shavar Reynolds to win that game. So St. John's has played well. Their strength of schedule in the non-conference wasn't great. It'll certainly improve when they play at Duke in February. But they are certainly playing at a high level right now. And they deserve the respect of being one of the best teams in the country right now. Don't know if they'll sustain it, because on Tuesday night they got to go to Villanova. So we'll learn a lot about St. John's Tuesday night. So a little discrepancy there. In the AP poll, Nevada is at 10. In my Power 36, I dropped Nevada to 12. That was a Pitt game. New Mexico looked great. Anthony Mathis has 27. And those kind of games happen at the Pitt. They didn't play well, Nevada. And you knew they were kind of probably waiting for that to happen. Now, Kansas is interesting. Kansas is at number 7 in the AP. I dropped them to 11 after losing to Iowa State. Udoka Azubuike did not play. Udoka Azubuike is done for the season. It's really disappointing for everyone involved in the Kansas program. I remember talking to Udoka in November at the Champions Classic in Indianapolis about coming back from his other ligament injury from his other hand. This is now his right hand. And, he's done for the season. It's really a shame because he'd worked so hard, flirted with the NBA, realized that he needed a lot more work to do, and really had become you could argue, one of the best post players in the country. And one of the reasons that a lot of people pick Kansas number 1 and to win the title. So they don't have him. They don't have Sylvia D'Souza, who is still being held out as the NCAA is investigating eligibility issues with him. Those, of course, arose in the FBI case. So 2 best bigs are out. Dedrick Lawson is a tweener. He's, can score in a variety of ways, but their offense changes. They're going to have to go smaller. Can they still win the Big 12? Yes. Is the window open pretty wide now for Iowa State and Texas Tech and maybe TCU? Yes. It's a shame Dean Wade's not healthy for K-State because in the preseason, they look like a team that certainly could contend with Kansas. So I dropped Kansas not because of losing Azubuike, but because of losing at Iowa State in the manner in which they lost. Still not a huge difference. Iowa State goes up to 14 in my poll and is at 20 in AP. Other risers here. I'm sticking with Michigan, Tennessee, Virginia, Duke because no one's lost since I did that. So I'm going to keep that top four. The 5-6 with Michigan State, Gonzaga, we have them reversed. Killian Tilly's back for the Zags, and so is Geno Crandall, and they played one game with them against Santa Clara. I just want to see a little bit more, but I still think they can win the national championship. No question. Michigan State's playing great right now. Great. Just won at Ohio State. So that's why I flipped them. Kentucky, I dropped a few spots after losing at Alabama, but they had a chance to win that game. It was right down to the wire. Some newcomers in the poll. Iowa's back in after handling Nebraska. Nebraska's out. Haven't heard from any Nebraska fans today after dropping 2 in a row on the road. Still like Nebraska. I'm all in on Nebraska. Gotta win some road games though. UCF in. They're playing better. Back in. Alabama was on that cusp. Ole Miss. 28 right now. Kermit Davis doing a phenomenal job. They beat Vanderbilt. And they are a team that's going to compete for a top 5 finish in the SEC. Who saw that coming? Not me. Minnesota and Maryland, I got them at 23-24. Let's see where AP has neither. Minnesota wins at Wisconsin. Maryland beats Nebraska. Both are playing really well. And I'm trying to think what the other one I have. I did drop Marquette, probably further than AP. And that was, even though they won, they beat Xavier on Sunday. They just got crushed by St. John's. So I felt like I had to drop them a little bit more because of that. Seton Hall dropped. I've been Hall in for a while, but they dropped deep to number 32. DePaul's not playing very well right now, but they beat them. And Seton Hall they were down 30-15, had a nice comeback, didn't win it. So I dropped them. Other moves, I don't think there was anything more dramatic than that. So a couple house cleaning items before we get to your questions. Power 36 that you see here, you can get that on NCAA.com in March Madness. Player of the Week, Shamori Pons from St. John's. Phenomenal week. Team of the Week, Iowa State, winning at Oklahoma State and Kansas. It's troubling right now, as I wrote about Providence losing 2 home games. A.J. Reeves still out, so that was disappointing for the Friars. Keep an eye on Alabama, UCF. No question about that, the way they're playing. I highlight a number of outstanding individual performances this week. So you want to check that out. That's at the bottom of the column. We're going to have a bracket on Tuesday. And obviously, as things develop over the course of the week, we will have reactions as we've been having throughout the course of the season. Shout out once again to the sports information directors who've been very helpful to me throughout the course of this season in getting everyone to us. All right, so let's see some questions here. Jamie Bates says the team of the year is Buffalo. Well, we'll wait and see. Buffalo holding steady. Good opener to the MAC as they destroyed Eastern Michigan. So Cody wants to know, how is Tennessee ahead of Virginia and Duke? And my rationale with that is Tennessee has one of the best wins of the season, and that was over Gonzaga in Phoenix. Gonzaga was number 1. They were undefeated. Tennessee also, their only loss was in overtime to then maybe number 2 Kansas, undefeated Kansas in New York. Jamie McCoy wants to know what is going on with Nebraska right now. It's called the road. They're not playing well on it. And they are kind of like Iowa. Iowa and Nebraska are very similar in this. that they're two different teams home road. Let's see if Maryland's also like this, because Maryland lost some home games, but Iowa and Nebraska, I think, are very similar this season. Experienced teams, much better defensively than they were a year ago, a little bit more scoring, and yet still can't cross that threshold of winning on the road. So they got to do that. They just have to do that. Let's see. Jake DeCaro says, how many Big Ten teams do I think will get in? I'm going to actually say 10. 10! Okay? And that's having faith in Maryland, Purdue, Nebraska, Iowa. I'm already all in on Minnesota, Ohio State, Wisconsin, Michigan State, obviously. Here's the deal. In Wisconsin, if I didn't say that. It's all relative to the rest of the country. And the Pac-12 is either going to get one or two. No more than two. One or two. The American, I'm going to say 3 to 4. The A-10 may only be 1. Okay? So there are going to be more spots from other leagues for the Big Ten to get its share. Now, they have to be deserving, but I think they will be. So as of today, Robert Bradshaw says Purdue won't make it. I disagree, Robert. I think they will. I do. Dylan Shockley wants to know what's my thoughts on UNC NC State. I think it's a great test for the Wolfpack. Got the home win over Auburn. They didn't look good for the first half against Miami, but then they clicked that second gear. I think it's going to be a great game. I would lean a little Carolina, but I won't be shocked at all if NC State wins that game. And if they do, it's going to be quite a statement. How close is the closest Pac-12 team to your Power 36 or team number 36? Asked Ben. If I had to go 40, they were going to make it. So they were in that next 4. Kyle wants to know my thoughts on Texas Tech. First of all, I love Fireside Chats with Chris Beard. I strongly encourage you to check that out. Also, I love their attitude, just the way in which they're playing incredibly loose in a good way. It's a fun watch. It really is. And Jarrett Culver did not have a good first half against West Virginia, and he just certainly kicked it into high gear in the second. So I'm all in on Texas Tech. Chris West, does anyone have a quick release in Kyle Guy? He's got a quick release. I don't know if I'd say no one has a quicker. Timothy says, what's wrong with UK? I would say that I'm not surprised they lost at Alabama. The SEC is really good, and there are going to be tough road spots. And by the way, it came down to the last possession, so I don't think there's anything really wrong with them. They had a shot to win the game on the road. Scott LaFleur says, does Syracuse have a shot at anything beside an NIT this year? And my answer is yes. I would say if the season ended today, they have first 4 written all over them. The thing I will tell you that the interesting exercise in doing the bracket is that you find that you got to fill the field. And when you get to the last 8 to 12 teams, really more last 8, it's tough. It really is, because you could go in so many different directions. There's so many similarities with a lot of these teams. So it's hard. Ross Adkins says, when will UVA's first loss come? Well, it won't come before January 19th when they play Duke. I'll tell you that. I think they can beat Duke, but it won't come before that. Dylan says, who do I see going to the championship? I mean, right now, I would go with Michigan, Tennessee, Virginia, Gonzaga. But I will tell you that, and I know people are like, how could you not do experienced guards? I've said that from the beginning. That's what concerns me. I will say this. My top 6, which includes Michigan, Tennessee, Virginia, Duke, Michigan State, Gonzaga, and my gut is that the national champion is going to come from one of those 6, if that means anything to you. Derek says, Hail State. Thoughts on the Bulldogs? Off to a great start. I've got them 21. They're 14 in the AP poll. Let's see how they do in the throes of the SEC. John says, where do I see Villanova ending in the Big East? Well, I'm going to say, we did this on the air the other day. I've got, maybe it was yesterday, I think I've got St. John's. This is before the DePaul Seton Hall game. I had St. John's, Seton Hall, Marquette, Nova. Now I'm going to go, I could see St. John's, Marquette, Nova, Seton Hall. And Nova still could win it. But I've got that. That's the top 4. I think there's a separation of those 4. And I'll tell you, I think you could see the Big East kind of like the Big Ten last year, where I think those 4 are going to get in. And then this year's Nebraska and Penn State in the Big East are going to be Creighton, Butler, Providence, Georgetown. Those 4 will really, probably not Georgetown. Those 3, Creighton, Butler, Providence. Those 3 are going to flirt on the peripheral, trying to get in. But I think those other 4 are the ones that are going to get in. Let's take a couple more here. Timothy says, yeah, I had UK in there over the Zags. I did. Change your mind. That was in the preseason. Who do I see winning the Big 12? Alice asks. I want to say Texas Tech, but I'm just scared to pick against Kansas, even though they lost Azubuike. What else we got here? Bruce says, when does Michigan lose its first game? It may not be until at Minnesota or at Michigan State, but we'll see. Not ready to go there yet. Richard, is Texas on the fringe of being in the Power 36? Yes, I had them right on the bubble. Dylan says, do I see UNC going to the Final Four? No. Charlotte just has BBN with a heart. If I had to pick a team outside of my top 10 to make the Final Four, asks Nick, who would it be? Well, it certainly could be Nevada, now that they're out of my top 10, Kentucky, could be Carolina, obviously. I don't think Iowa State. Let's see. I know what you're looking for. You want me to pick like sort of a Loyola from last year. So if I'm going to do that, well, this is hard. I mean, I guess if I'm to pick, one crazy team that could get there, maybe it is Minnesota. I don't know. Maybe I do that. Interesting. Someone said they'd be in there all season. Tell me about Virginia Tech. That I told you so. Well, I have them ranked. Alabama, your thoughts, says Chris and Kathy. Well, I've got them tonight winning the national championship game, if that means anything. Look, they're playing better, and I think they're going to be right there to potentially be in that first 4 or one of the last teams in. Talon says, do I see New Mexico moving into the top 25 after their win against Nevada? I do not. A lot of work to do for the Lobos. They've got 6 losses. So, no. But they could certainly finish and challenge for second in in the Mountain West. No question. Do I think Michigan has a chance to win it? Asked Terry. Yes. Mark says, Louisville. Do I think Louisville can make the tournament? Yes, I do. Mike wants to know who wins Michigan State and Michigan. Do they split? And I'll say yes. Jeremy says, I'm loving how high you are in Minnesota. You're going to be disappointed like the rest of us. It's a Minnesota sports. Gotta stop doing that. Staple. All right. I'm all in. We'll see. All right. So Duke is beaten. This is Cody now. He's going to come back at me. Duke is beaten number 7, Texas Tech. Number 13, Kentucky. Number 18, Indiana. Number 20, Auburn. And their only loss is to number 3, Gonzaga. Yet you have Gonzaga, you have Tennessee is having with the win over Gonzaga. All right. So let me just tell you this. This is my poll, okay, who I think is playing the best right now. Remember, Duke didn't play well for most of that Texas Tech game. This is not how I am going to seed the tournament. Big distinction. And you're going to see that in our bracket on Tuesday. Big distinction. You are correct. Duke's got great wins right now, but big distinction. Seeding and polling. Okay? Distinction. Warren, Kansas still the favorite. Yes, until they get knocked off in the Big 12 he's talking about. Allison says, why isn't Virginia being rewarded? They blew up Florida State. Yeah, that's a fair point. I could have put them 1. I debated it in my head. How far can Buffalo go? Asked Chris Duncan. I mean, could they be this year's Loyola and get there? Sure, they could. John Harding asked about Pitino and UCLA. Or does Barack, as Bill Walton says, have a better shot? All right, coming up today or tomorrow, you're going to see a video I did at UCLA about this. But I will reinforce again, there is no way UCLA is hiring Rick Pitino. Do people have a short memory? They took down the 2013 banner, okay? He's not getting an NCAA job at that level. It's not happening. There's ongoing litigation between various parties. It's not happening. So, some of my friends in the media I've known forever are pushing this. Please stop. You may want it, but UCLA's not going to do it. The banner is not up in Louisville, 2013. Not up in the sky. Okay? So they're not going to hire him. It's not happening. We'll move on. Can St. John's make a run to the Final Four? Asked Chris. Sure. I mean, with a player like Pons, they definitely can. Jeremy says, who's got the season's best chance to be in UMBC? Stony Brook, if they get there. They've already won 4 guaranteed games. So I would put them in that category. And North Texas. Texas State, these are all if they get there. Charleston, Wofford. Now, if you're saying who's going to be a 16, if Liberty was a 16, maybe. I'd put them in that group. Trina agrees with me on Patina. Let's see. Robert wants picks. NC State, Carolina, St. John's, Nova. Well, right now I'm going Carolina and Nova. Sorry. John wants to know where this narrative is coming from. I don't know. Maybe it's media driven. I don't know where it's coming. It's not coming from UCLA, I can tell you that. Let's look for one more. Jason wants to know, where do I see UCF in the bracket? And I would tell you that I see the Knights somewhere in that 9 to 11 range. That's where they're playing right now. I don't see them going higher than that, but that's where they're going to play. Those are going to be their guardrails, unless they just go on a great run. Chris wants to know if Missouri's going to beat Tennessee. Well, that certainly would help the Tigers' chances, who, by the way, are still in my Power 36. All right, Allison, I agree with you. UVA should be the favorite in the ACC right now. By the way, on the Pac-12, I'll leave you with this, Pac-12 people. I think UCLA could win it. I do. Okay, number one, they have the most talent. They're playing loose, fast. I was talking to Jalen Hands, Murray Bartow. Listen to our podcast. On the podcast, I got Murray Bartow. He's great on it. And Braxton Key from Virginia. UCLA is playing loose, free. They're running up and down. I think they legitimately could win the Pac-12. No Bobo at Oregon. Arizona's the grinder, best defensive team. Let's see how that translates on the road. Washington has the most returning talent. Let's see how they do on the road. Good home court. Arizona's the best home court. And Arizona State, I want to be all in, but they're young in key spots, and they've already lost 2 home games. So, that's where I'm going right now. I'm picking UCLA to win the Pac-12. All right, everyone. I appreciate it. Quick reminder. Power 36, NCAA.com, March Madness. That's where you find that. Player of the Week, Shamori Pons from St. John's. Team of the Week, Iowa State. Podcast, March Madness 365. Murray Bartow, a conversation with the interim UCLA head coach, and Braxton Key, the transfer from Alabama, now helping Virginia potentially to the top of the ACC. And tomorrow, the bracket comes out on March Madness and NCAA.com. Enjoy the national championship football game between Alabama and Clemson tonight. It is all hoops beginning tomorrow in Division I. All right? Enjoy. Thanks for watching. I'm Andy Katz. We'll see you again right here next Monday.